Long ago, before time wore the names of years and months, when the world was still raw from the fire of creation, the gods on Olympus stirred with fury. Prometheus, the titan of foresight, had stolen fire from the heavens and gifted it to mankind. This blaze of divine knowledge, meant only for the gods, now flickered in the hearths of mortals. They no longer cowered in caves. They forged weapons, shaped cities, and grew bold. Zeus, king of gods and storms, seethed on his marble throne. His wrath thundered through the clouds. "Let man keep his stolen flame," Zeus roared, "but let him suffer for it." And so began the gods' greatest deception, a punishment not through flame or flood, but through beauty. Hephaestus, god of fire and forge, was commanded to sculpt a woman from the earth itself. With trembling hands, he molded her from clay finer than sand, shaping her limbs with elegance and power. Athena breathed life into her with the gift of reason and curiosity. Aphrodite painted her lips with charm and laughter. Hermes gave her a tongue gilded with persuasion. And from Zeus, she received a dangerous dowry, a jar, though later stories would call it a box. Inside the jar, the gods sealed every sorrow, plague, vice, and cruelty that the world had never known: disease, famine, madness, betrayal, despair. But also, at the very bottom, hidden beneath layers of woe, they placed a single glimmering essence: hope. Her name was Pandora, meaning all gifted, and she was not created in innocence, but with a divine purpose. Prometheus, wise and skeptical, had warned his brother Epimetheus, "Think not with your heart, but with your mind. Accept no gift from the gods, no matter how lovely it seems." But Epimetheus, whose name meant afterthought, was impulsive. When Pandora arrived at his doorstep, radiant and curious, he forgot his brother's warning. He welcomed her with open arms and made her his wife. For a time, their life was joyful. Pandora marveled at the colors of the earth, the scent of laurel trees, the laughter of children, the rhythm of the moon and tides. But always, always her eyes drifted to the jar. It was kept sealed beneath their hearth, swathed in soft cloth and etched with golden symbols. "Do not open it," Epimetheus warned her, more from his own unease than instruction from the gods. But curiosity, her divine inheritance, grew with each passing day. Why give her a gift never meant to be opened? Why tempt her with mystery, only to deny her knowledge? One dusky evening, as twilight painted the sky in bruised purples, Epimetheus left their home to gather wood. Alone, Pandora sat before the jar. Her fingers hovered above it like a bird poised to take flight. "It is just a jar," she whispered. "What harm could it do to look?" Her fingers moved before her mind gave permission. The seal cracked, the air stilled, time held its breath, and then, like a chorus of screams buried beneath the earth, the jar opened. What emerged was not smoke nor flame, but invisible afflictions that slithered into the world with hungry delight. Disease, like rot in the marrow of men. Hatred, like wildfire in hearts. Lies, serpents coiled on tongues. Despair, heavy as chains. The earth itself cried out. Flowers wilted, rivers soured. Children woke screaming from nightmares that had never existed before. Pandora tried to shut the jar, but the forces unleashed were too many. Only when the jar was nearly empty did she manage to close the lid with trembling hands. Pandora collapsed, weeping, the jar still warm in her arms. Epimetheus returned to find his wife broken, the world forever changed. "What have you done?" he asked, not with anger but with sorrow. I didn't know," she whispered. "I only wanted to see." Days passed, and the land darkened. War erupted among once peaceful tribes. Sickness spread. People cursed the gods, cursed Pandora, cursed life itself. But one evening, as Pandora sat beside the closed jar, she heard a sound. Not a whisper of temptation, but a heartbeat. She opened the jar just a sliver, expecting another horror. But instead, a warm golden light trickled out. It wrapped around her fingers and surged into her chest like sunlight through winter frost. It was Hope, a goddess in her own right. Hope, Elpis, had waited patiently beneath the weight of the world's sorrows. She now rose gently, drifting like mist across the hills, entering hearts weakened by despair. Pandora climbed Mount Olympus to plead for forgiveness. Zeus watched her with cool detachment. "You did what you were created to do," he said. "The fault is not in the hand, but in the design of the tool." "But why fill the world with such sorrow?" she asked. "Why curse humanity for what you allowed?" Zeus stood, lightning trembling in his palm. "Because they dared rise without permission. Fire gave them ambition. You gave them consequence. Now they are gods in potential, but frail in flesh. That is the balance." Athena stepped forward, her eyes not unkind. "And Hope, did you find her?" "Yes," Pandora said. "She was the last to leave, and the only one who stayed with me." "Then mankind may yet endure," said Athena, "for no suffering is eternal where hope remains." Pandora never returned to the life she had known. She wandered the world, not as a symbol of doom, but as a seeker of healing. Wherever she went, she carried the jar, not to unleash it, but to remind others of its cost. In time, poets would call her reckless. Philosophers would blame her for humanity's suffering. Her name would become shorthand for danger disguised as beauty. But few remembered that hope only came into the world because of her. And fewer still knew the truth, that Pandora was not just a vessel of punishment, but the first woman born with divine gifts and mortal heart. Her story was not one of shame, but of awakening. Millennia later, her name would echo in myths, in warnings, in metaphors. "Don't open Pandora's box," they would say, fearing chaos. But they forget that when the world was darkest and every evil had taken wing, one small light remained.